so. I knew.
Will all the aldermen please take their seats? Want to get the meeting done on time? Thank you.
That's 7 pages. 7. Just sitting there. So I have a flag here. It's not a joke, really. So I have an envelope. I did get that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, January 5th, 2026, and we welcome you to the January meeting of the Milford Board of Aldermen. Please join me as we salute our flag. Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Alderman Ali.
Here.
Alderman Bannon. Alderman Bevan.
Here.
Alderman Brennan.
Here.
Alderman Casey.
Here.
Alderman Federico.
Here.
Alderman Fowler.
Here.
Alderman Healy.
Here.
Alderman Height.
Here.
Alderman Lombardi.
Here.
Alderman Pacelli.
Here.
Alderman Michael Smith.
Here.
Alderman Winthrop Smith Jr. Alderman Winthrop Smith III.
Here.
Alderman Vitro.
Here.
All are present.
All 15 are present. We do have a quorum. The next portion of the meeting is devoted to public comment. Public comment statements are strictly limited to the legislative functions of the Board of Aldermen. Please use every effort to limit public speaking to the permissible business of the Board of Aldermen. The time limit granted to each speaker shall be 3 minutes. Residents, taxpayers, and electors may address the board at this time. The board encourages speakers not to express derogatory, insensitive, or offensive statements, or to engage in personal attacks against individuals. Please keep in mind that the structure of our meeting does not allow for two-way dialogue or to answer your questions. Residents can contact their district alderman by phone or email regarding any issue or concern. We welcome and appreciate your comments and concerns regarding city business and community matters, and all will be taken into consideration. Anyone wishing to address the board can do so at this time.
Good evening. I am Bill Silver, 55 Governor's Avenue in Milford, and representing the Milford Historic Preservation Commission. I'm with the commission, which is the third historic commission created by the aldermen in 2015 to manage the nationally and state-listed historic properties that are not inside the other two districts. We often hear how Milford residents cherish Milford's historic charm. From the opening web page on the city website to numerous realtors' websites, publications, and the testimony of residents at numerous city department and board meetings. Milford's historic charm is also mentioned in some of the summaries of our candidates running for office. It is even, many folks appreciate the historic character of the city and its many buildings that make up that characterization. The commission actively participated in the Plan of Conservation and Development, now updated to 2032, by advancing those sentiments with a stated goal of protecting and preserving historic assets in the city. The MHPC has been charged by the aldermen with protecting the historic and/or architectural character of listed properties, of strengthening the local economy by stabilizing and improving property values through adaptive use and reuse of historic structures, fostering wider public knowledge, education, and appreciation of historic properties, and providing a resource for information and expertise, and finally, ensuring and fostering preservation, restoration, and rehabilitation of structures. With all these goals in mind, the three commissions met last year as a group to advocate better communications with property owners and developers, especially during the 90-day demolition delay periods, to discuss alternatives to the total destruction of historic property. In the past, these delay periods went without dialogue between parties. We have started that dialogue. The MHPC is excited to announce that its educational charge has been enhanced with a new section of its webpage, thanks to Peter Smith and his department, called Milford's Historic Property Highlights, which includes stories of structures and properties that have recently been restored or rehabilitated, and the owner's own words of why they did it and what it meant to them. I have that link highlighted in my handout to you. And some good news last year was that the Superior Court in Hartford ruled that a historic building in New Canaan could not be demolished or moved for an apartment development proposed under the 8-30G Affordable Housing Statute. It ruled that the substantial public interest in the historic preservation of the building and property outweighed the need for affordable housing in the town. The link to that docket and ruling is also in this handout that I'll leave. We will be reaching out to local attorneys, realtors, developers, and property owners in the coming months and years, sharing Milford's goal to protect its historic properties, to let them know of significant resources and funding that is available at the state and national level for historic restorations, and to creatively seek solutions in preserving historic properties while meeting developers' goals to build apartments and other developments behind or around historic buildings. There are many more than one solution to solve these problems. We'd ask that you share our community's wishes and with those that you meet, and to encourage them to talk to any of the historic preservation folks in town. There are many of us. Thanks. If I may, Mr. Chair.
Good evening. My name is Janet Rivers, and I live at 159 Broadway. I'm here tonight again to ask the board to enact ordinances regarding short-term rentals in our town. I came before this board in November with the same request. To refresh your memory, I was subjected to a week-long ordeal of a man who was attempting to enter my house daily, as he was convinced that a woman was being assaulted in my house. This included banging on my doors and windows, climbing on my air conditioning platform, and yelling on the porch for hours. I'm serving as the canary in the coal mine for Milford. The town has done a great job attracting people into our town. However, not much is being done to protect the foundations of Milford, which is the unique and diverse neighborhoods in our community. Milford's a special place, and we should pay attention to this. We need strong, concise ordinances regarding short-term rentals. For example, owner residency requirements, perhaps a yearly fee. I'm a refugee from Lower Fairfield County that had many of the same qualities as Milford. They were swallowed up in the name of progress. Please help preserve our beautiful town and our unique neighborhoods. by enacting short-term rental ordinances to protect our neighbors from this unregulated business. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bob Dickinson, and I live at 30 Grant Street in Milford. My topic today is the much-needed regulations on short-term rentals, also known as Airbnbs and VRBOs. Milford is a beautiful town with more shoreline than any other town in Connecticut. Because of Milford's attractiveness and beaches, we are attracting an unprecedented level of investors in short-term rentals. 50% of the towns in Connecticut have some sort of regulation on short-term rentals. Milford has no regulations. Milford's experienced a 59% increase in short-term rentals year over year. This is damaging the fabric of our neighborhoods. In the summer, we experienced the never-ending parade of strangers in the neighborhood. The investors then use their property for academic rentals in the off-season. Imagine having 4 students and their friends partying next door all winter long. Short-term rentals erode the availability of housing in a housing shortage and generate nuisance activities such as noise, parties, and parking problems. East Haven recently passed a short-term rental ordinance that is quite strict. It became law on January 1st. In December, I brought in a copy of that ordinance for your review and to hand over to the ordinance committee. Orange recently passed a planning and zoning regulation requiring a minimum 30-day stay for short-term rentals. Our own Laurel Beach District has a minimum 30-day stay, so they don't have the problem. Branford passed an ordinance on short-term rentals on September 10th. I have copies to hand you today for that. I would encourage the ordinance committee to review the East Haven and Branford ordinances as models for drafting a short-term ordinance with a 30-day minimum stay requirement that protects Milford, our neighbors, neighborhoods, and our citizens. May I approach this? 16 times.
Good evening. I'm Mark Lofthouse. I live at 56 Wilbur Avenue in Milford, Connecticut. I didn't plan to speak tonight, but I just want to tell everybody, if you haven't parked in the parking garage over here, it's always empty, and it's a beautiful asset for downtown Milford. As I walked up here, there's cars all up on the side of the road in the snow. Walked down there, there's like maybe 6 cars in there. So I encourage you and the people at home watching, use the parking garage. It's fantastic. Thanks.
Anyone else wishing to address the board can do so at this time. Seeing none, Alderman Pacelli, agenda item number 3.
Agenda item number 3, consideration of minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen held on December 1st, 2025.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Pacelli. Agenda item number 4, consideration of minutes of the special organizational meeting. There wasn't any. Under Chairman's report, I just wanted to wish everyone a Happy New Year. Hope everyone on the board, wish all the new members of the board pay attention to what's going on because it happens really quick. And I wish that everyone that wants to be recognized, please raise their hand and make sure I see it, because I'm hindered by this curve here. So be a little patient and keep your hand out so I can see you and I can recognize you much easier. I appreciate it. Thank you. Mayor's report. Mr. Mayor, you have a report for us?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And Happy New Year to all the members of the board, the folks here in attendance. December was a busy month for us. You know, as I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people around the city over the last many months, everybody talks about what a great place Milford is. And as I said, it's not a partisan thing. There's always something going on here, and December was no exception. We had winter concerts. I went to a lot of winter concerts from our schools, our middle schools, our elementary schools, our high schools. It's incredible to watch the devotion and the dedication that these kids have to learning an instrument. And it culminated right here in this hall with the Milford Concert Band. And if you haven't seen them, you have to see them play. It was incredible. As I said to them, music's been a big part of my life, and I just shook my head. They didn't miss a note, and the director seemed to give credit to the hall. It certainly didn't take anything away from it, but if you haven't had a chance to see the Milford Concert Band, make it a priority. They're worth seeing. I had a chance to participate in the menorah lighting on the green. Certainly one of the coldest nights in human history. It was cold, not nearly as cold as our January 1st commemoration that was organized by our own city clerk, Peter Smith. Peter, thank you for that. Many of you are aware of the fact that, and I think you guys were provided some of the comments that I made that day, that 1777, we're kicking off our 250th anniversary, as you know. And this was an event tied back to the Revolutionary War, where the British dropped 200 prisoners of war on Milford shores. Sick, starving, smallpox, and Milford, as you would expect Milford would, and would today, stepped up and cared for these sick and dying men. Captain Stowe, who I believe is one of Art Stowe's relatives, died of smallpox a few days after tending to some of these sick soldiers. 46 of them died here in Milford, and they're buried in a grave here in Milford. But many people came out. We marked the occasion on Gulf Beach on January 1st. I think that was actually the coldest day in human history. It was cold, and I was inadequately dressed, but we probably had 60 people show up, and just proud. I'm proud of the work that you did, Peter, in organizing it, but proud of the people that came out. I know a few of our aldermen, Chairman Vitro and Alderman Bevan and Tony Lombardi, were there to brave the cold. So we could all be proud to be part of this community and the history of our community. Veterans events, we had several. We had the Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day in December. We had the wreaths across America, which was also cold. I guess that's the common theme in December. Coming up, we have on January 18th, we have a tribute to Martin Luther King right here in this auditorium at 4 p.m., open to the public, so I encourage you all to come down. As you know, we've had our share of snow. You know, now as mayor, when I wake up and I know it's snowing or I go to bed, all I'm thinking about is how much it cost. It's not beautiful to me anymore. And we've had our share over the last few days. Even the slight dusting turns into an event because it's below freezing. And so that melt, or that turns to ice and people fall, so we have to address even that. So my thanks to the Department of Public Works and all the folks that came in and put in long days plowing to keep our streets safe and passable. So my thanks to them. Also then I will move to 6A for informational purposes. I want to announce the mayor's appointments to commissions, and I ask that you stay until after all the commission appointments are done so that our city clerk can swear you all in. Let me read through the mayoral appointments now. The Milford Council of Aging, Mary Beth Stickley, Shirley Serrano, Benjamin Gettinger, John Drab, and Vincent Marone. The Conservation Commission, Sarah Lilly, Austin Wheaton, and Abigail Bernstein. Inland Wetlands, Julie Falvo and Scott Marlowe, and alternate Warren Field. Milford Redevelopment and Housing Partnership, Rich Borer. Veterans Graves Preservation Commission, Tom Cody and Christopher Adardo. Let me also comment, and we have other commissions that are mayor appointments, Board of Aldermen approval, but I made a point on all these commissions to reappoint anyone that wanted to stay that was already serving on these commissions. I'm grateful for the folks that step up, not only the folks here on this board that stepped up and ran for office, but all of you who volunteer to be part of these commissions and boards. A lot of people sit around and complain and criticize the way things are. And what do we always want to say? Well, then get involved. These people are getting involved, and these folks here are getting involved. That's what should give us all hope. So my thanks to those who have served and have chosen to step up again. And for those new appointments, welcome and thank you for your volunteering to be part of the solution. Mr. Chairman, I will give it back to you at this point. I believe that's it for 6A. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to move on to the item 7 is unfinished business. There is none. We'll move on to agenda item number 8, new business. I will say that Ron Johnson has removed himself from the sewer commission appointment, and Alderman Pacelli will take over from there.
Thank you, Chairman Vitro. Agenda item 8A, Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested of the following mayor's appointments to the boards and commissions. I'm going to read the entire list, and then we'll vote on that list at the end. Board of Assessment Review, alternates, one-year term expiring 12/31/26. Luke S. Porto as a reappointment, and Richard Viziello as a reappointment. Central Regional Tourism District, a 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Robert G. Towns III, new appointment. Fair Rent Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Jorge Santiago, reappointment. Cheryl Lacady, Landlord Representative, reappointment. Alternate, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Carl S. Moore as a neutral representative, reappointment. Board of Finance, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Raymond J. Arnold, reappointment. Damon Ralph, new appointment. Fire Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Thomas Riso Jr., reappointment. Catherine Lutz, new appointment. Ellen Russell Beatty, new appointment, term to expire 12/31/27. Golf Course Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Christine Casey, reappointment. Nick Vecchiarelli Jr., reappointment. Harbor Management Commission, 5-year term expiring 12/31/30. James R. Beard, reappointment. Bruce Carilla, new appointment. Board of Health, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Christine M. Ganillo, reappointment. Raymond Vitale, new appointment. Historic Preservation Commission, 5-year term expiring 12/31/30. Mark Lofthouse, reappointment. Library Board, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Toby Zimbinski, reappointment. Amanda Kemp, reappointment. Louise Uzacek, reappointment. Milford Department of Human Services, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Melissa Tranquilli, reappointment. Stuart Zolte, new appointment, term to expire 12/31/27. Christina Preet, new appointment, term to expire 12/31/26. Park, Beach, and Recreation Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. David N. Rodriguez, reappointment. Police Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Blake Smith, new appointment. John Major, reappointment. Sharon Marone, reappointment. Sewer Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Bradford W. Hubler, reappointment. Transit District Advisory Board, 2-year term expiring 12/31/27. Nigel Phelps, reappointment. Nicholas Ricci, reappointment. Tree Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Brian Mancini, reappointment. Alternate, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Cheryl Capiali, reappointment. Veterans Ceremony and Parade Commission, 3-year term expiring 12/31/28. Christopher Attardo, reappointment. Zoning Board of Appeals, 5-year term expiring 12/31/30. Chris Wolf, reappointment. Carmina Hirsch, reappointment, term to expire 12/31/26.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Yes, Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you to either the mayor or the city attorney. So I don't oppose any of the proposed appointees tonight. I think there are many very fine people who are being proposed tonight. Current probate judges, former aldermen, many other fine citizens of Milford. I do have one question, and again, through the chairman to the mayor or the city attorney. On the police commission, Blake Smith, as I see in the resume here, Director of Development of MetroStar, MetroStar being one of the biggest developers in Milford. My question would be, wouldn't it be true that he would have to recuse himself from votes that come before the police commission for MetroStar projects for things such as police traffic studies that are done on, let's say, MetroStar products? If that came before the police commission, wouldn't it be true that he would have to recuse himself? And if so, do you, Mr. Mayor, or City Attorney Burcham, believe that to be an issue for the appointee?
To you, through the chair to you, Alderman Smith, the only thing, having served on that commission for a dozen years, the only thing we, in terms of development, that we really have say over line of sight issues. We do not have a thumbs up or down on projects for anything beyond that. So, and we have to remind ourselves as a commission of that all too often, that our authority on development projects is very limited. It's line of sight. Not even, there was a time where we were looking at parking spaces, but that's really a planning and zoning issue. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Mr. Chair, through you, Alderman Smith, I would imagine that each board and commission members has to sign our code of ethics, and they understand their obligations to them. So if there is an appearance of a conflict, then it would be incumbent upon that member to raise the issue. And we certainly, my office would counsel him or her if there was such a conflict. So I don't know if there's a blanket requirement to recuse himself, but on a case-by-case basis, I understand and appreciate your concerns, and I'm sure that the appointed member would take that role, and they're signing off on the code of ethics seriously.
If I may add, and I hope that to be true for all of our commissioners in their private roles versus their responsibility in their commissions. There are others that we could cite, so we do count on the integrity of those serving as well. Thank you.
And thank you. Just to follow up, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I do appreciate that. want to ensure that that would be the case in order to garner my support. And I understand that the Police Commission doesn't have authority to greenlight a project such as a development project for a company like MetroStar. But as part of the process of these development projects, sometimes a piece of that project is a police traffic study that does come before the Police Commission. And I just want to ensure that somebody who may be a part of, let's say, an 8-30G development project or any other type of development project across the city, I know it's very important to many people in Milford. Many people in Milford have mentioned their concern with a number of different developments that have gone up. And I just want to ensure that there appears to be the potential of a conflict. And obviously, we can't predict what projects come up and would come before the Police Commission. But I just want to be sure that somebody who goes on that commission would be able to rightfully recuse themselves if presented with that conflict. It sounds like you, Mr. Mayor, and you, Mr. City Attorney, have said hopefully those members would abide by the code of conduct. I believe that they would. I just wanted to get both of your opinion on that, and I think you satisfied my question. So
And as I've said, I hope that's true of all of our appointments on all of our boards. Just so you know, traffic studies are done by the PD, and they don't vote on them. Traffic studies are just informational to the commission. But nonetheless, I trust that the members that we appoint to these boards will indeed abide by the code of ethics.
Is there any more discussion? Alderman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to send my appreciation to all people in the audience that have been appointed to boards. It's very important that people serve, and like I echo or appreciate Mayor Smith saying that people need to be involved, and oftentimes I campaign and people complaining, and sometimes I want to encourage them to serve in the boards or serve in either Republican Town Committee or Democratic Town Committee, because it's really rewarding, and I think that that's really, you really cannot, the city can't run without people like you. So I appreciate this, and I want to thank you, and it makes the city a better place. So I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just one other thing to add. A lot of people hear these commissions, hear of them, and if you're asked, you honestly probably go, I don't really know what they do. To address that, one of the things we plan to do in early spring, and for those of you joining these commissions, you're on notice, but we did it a couple of years ago, and I plan to do it this spring, is we're going to open up this auditorium to the public. And we're going to have those commissions represented by the chair people in those commissions to tell the folks at Milford what goes on in these commissions, what our scope is, what work we do. Yeah, it was very well received by the public when we did it a couple of years ago. We received a lot of notes saying thank you for the transparency. So the work you do on these commissions is vital, it's important, and it's more than you think. So to Alderman Casey's point, and to reiterate once again, thank you for volunteering.
Is there any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Pasali.
Thank you, Chairman Vitro. At this time, I request a motion to reorder the agenda and bring item 8C forward in order to vote on all board and commission appointments before conducting the other city business. And I also would like to reword 8C so that it reads, Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested of the following Board of Aldermen appointments to the boards and commissions, rather than the existing language which would indicate it's already been decided, which it has not.
So move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Pacelli.
Thank you. Agenda item 8C, which will now go forward. The Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested of the following Board of Aldermen appointments to the boards and commissions. Animal Shelter Commission, Catherine Kamen, reappointment, term to expire 12/31/30. Economic Development Commission, Buddy Preet, new appointment, retail industry, 3-year term, term to expire 12/31/28. Peter D. Casalino, reappointment, citizen rep, 4-year term, term to expire 12/31/29. Domenico Ciano, new appointment, manufacturing industry, 4-year term, term to expire 12/31/29. Flood and Erosion Control Board, Thomas E. Bach, reappointment, 5-year term, term to expire 12/31/30. Historic District Commission, Arthur W. Stowe, reappointment, term to expire 1/1/31. Historic District, South of the Green, Mark Muller, reappointment, term to expire 1/1/31. Alternate, Christopher Bishop, reappointment, term to expire 1/1/31. Milford Department of Human Services, Catherine Bonetti, new appointment, Milford United Way, 3-year term, term to expire 12/31/27. Inland Wetlands Agency, Matthew Connors, reappointment, term to expire 12/31/28. Milford Government Access Television, Eric Smith, reappointment, term to expire 12/31/27. Nigel Phelps, reappointment, term to expire 12/31/27. Nicole Service, reappointment, term to expire 12/31/27. Pension and Retirement Board, Christopher D. Hernandez, new appointment, citizen, 3-year term, term to expire 12/31/28. Kenneth Spodnik, new appointment, citizen, 3-year term, term to expire 12/31/28. Mary Rose Palumbo, reappointment, MEA, 3-year term, term to expire 12/31/28. Jerry Farina, reappointment, citizen, 3-year term, term to expire 12/31/28. Ann Maher, reappointment, citizen, 3-year term, term to expire 12/31/28.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. At this time, will all the newly confirmed board and commission members come to the front of the auditorium to be sworn in by our city clerk?
Mr. Chairman, could I just, after I swear them in, if you have not signed the sheets in front, can you please come up and sign so we can make sure that we have a list of who's actually been sworn in tonight?
You're going to turn your back to the alderman. Yep. Wow. It's actually pretty impressive. We need to make sure we get a photo of this. Okay, is everyone there? Tony, can you ask those guys to step away so they can get sworn in? So let's get sworn in. Come on, Rick. Come on, Nick. Okay, I need everyone to raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear or sincerely affirm that you will faithfully execute and discharge your duties and responsibilities according to law as a member of the board, commission, or agency that you have been appointed to the best for the city of Milford, to the best of your ability, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? Okay, now remember, I gotta have your signature. I know, sorry.
We're going to be taking a recess right now. We're in recess. Please take their seats. Get this meeting started again. We are now out of recess. Alderman Pasali, agenda item 8B.
Agenda item 8B, Board of Aldermen approval is requested for the attached City of Milford Community Rating System Annual Progress Report on implementation of credited plan and to authorize the mayor, open space manager, floodplain administrator, and inland wetlands agent to take all steps necessary, including signing all documents to effectuate said program.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Wynne Smith III.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you. My question, through you, Mr. Chairman, to whomever can answer it, would be when will we have updates from all the projects that have a no update status? There are many of these current status projects that will span years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I think some maybe 7 years, maybe I'm wrong about that. But there are a number of different years on a number of different projects that have no update. So when will we have updates on those no update projects?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Mary Rose Palumbo, the Inland Wetland Agent, also serving the Hazard Mitigation Commission.
I apologize, I'm having difficulty hearing you.
Mary Rose Palumbo, Inland Wetland Agent, also serving the Hazard Mitigation Commission. This spreadsheet is updated twice a year, around June and in December, with the SCROG, Hazard Mitigation Multi-Jurisdictional Plan. So this is updated by department heads in May and early June, and November and December, so that we can give it to you in December.
Okay. So that, and if you can indulge me, Mr. Chairman, through you, so when would the next update come on all these projects?
We have been giving the aldermen an update annually in December. If the aldermen choose it, they can see it more often, but it has to be approved once a year per the hazard mitigation plan that you approved in 2023.
Okay. And thank you for that. And again, through you, Mr. Chairman, some of these projects have potential funding sources that could be state grants, could be from the city budget, and there are others that are TBD. Do we have a status update as to when the potential funding source that is listed as TBD will no longer be TBD and will be determined? Do you have a determination date on those?
I do not. A number of those projects that are TBD used to be listed as some federal funding that is no longer available. It hasn't been available for the last year, so we took those funding sources out and put TBD to allow us to find other sources.
Thank you for that. And I would just note that this is, from what I can gather, and there's a lot of unanswered questions regarding funding sources, we are being asked to support what I can put together is $89,629,135 in funding. Some of that is a question mark, some of that are annual costs, and others are TBD. We can be looking at something that is well over $100 million in funding. I could not possibly support something where I am being asked to vote on a project that requires funding for $1.3 million, $2 million, $3 million, that could come from the city budget. I will never do that. That is irresponsible to do for the city of Milford. I would encourage my colleagues to do the same. There are some good projects on here that are ongoing, that are substantially complete. that I think are good and are needed and are required for the city. I think if those projects came before this board individually on a line item basis, I could certainly support those. I cannot possibly support something that is TBD, that is unfunded, that is potentially going to come from the city, and the city's going to bear the burden of that. I'm not going to do it. I think that's a very irresponsible budgeting for the city, and for that reason, I'm not going to be supporting the hazard mitigation plan. Thank you.
Alderman Pacelli.
Thank you. Through you, I have a few questions. First question is, can you confirm that this is not our board authorizing any of these projects or the funding for any of these projects? Rather, we're voting solely on whether or not these potential future projects can be included in the plan.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. That is correct. As I said in my cover memo, these projects do not move forward without additional actions by the mayor and the Board of Aldermen. This spreadsheet does not obligate the city to funding any of these projects. Having the projects on this spreadsheet, the Hazard Mitigation Action Tracker, shows potential funding agencies that the project has been considered by the city, which may improve chances of receiving funding. It also shows the city is being responsible for future resiliency to protect the citizens of the Milford.
Thank you. If I may follow up, what would happen if this board did not approve the plan? Would we be subject to a prior plan, or would we be out of compliance in some way for having no plan? Where would we be if this board did not approve this plan, or some plan?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. The board approved the hazard mitigation plan in '23. The next plan would come before you in '28. A commitment of that plan was that you would look at this spreadsheet annually and look at potential projects to have the city aware of projects that might help resiliency to protect citizens in the future, and things that you'd like to do to stabilize the shoreline, protect outfalls, take down hazard trees. And so not approving this plan is not in compliance with the plan you approved in '23, saying you'd look at this every year and approve a plan.
One last follow-up, if I may. So if we were to approve the plan in its current form, it would allow the city to potentially obtain third-party grant funds or funds from somewhere other than the city budget for some of these projects. But if the items were not on that plan, or if the plan itself wasn't approved, we would not be able to do so. So that's why those are here?
Yes. It opens funding sources.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have right now. Thank you very much for your explanation.
Mr. Chairman, if I will, I just want to make sure Alderman Smith is relieved to know that this is not a request for funding at all. In fact, it's just these items on the plan have been on the plan. It's just our required review. So these haven't been added. We're not asking for funding. We're not asking for 800 million or 89 million. This is just informational to say these are projects that we deem, and the folks in positions that have to worry about this deem to be on this. If we move forward with one of those projects, it would come before this board for funding as appropriate at that point. So I just want to make sure that this vote isn't to approve hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not to budget for anything tonight. Thank you.
Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you. My query then would be, why are we voting on it? If this is an authorization for funding, why are we voting on this? If this is informational purposes only and informational in nature, then it should be rightfully brought before this board on an informational memo only. Why are we voting on it? My problem is when this tends to happen when things come before this board as wish list items, right? And it often happens, at least in my time, under Mayor Blake, when Mayor Blake proposed his capital improvement plan, and it was voted on, these are wish list items. Some of these items don't come to fruition. Some of these items do come to fruition. And you may not agree with all of the items that are on this wish list, and some of these items I think are wish list items. The problem is when they do come before the board, and the wish list items no longer become our wishes, but become actual projects that break ground. When somebody disagrees with the project, others will chime in and say, you already voted for that. You already supported that. How can you vote no when you voted yes previously? So, if there are good projects for Milford that are funded, that are substantially complete, those should be brought in front of this board, and I would happily vote yes to them. I cannot bring myself to vote for something that requires funding on a funding source that is TBD over a number of years where the city could be responsible for it out of the city budget. It's not going to happen, at least not for me. So that's where my problem lies, and based on what I heard, I don't even think this is appropriately in front of this board on a voting basis. It should be an informational memo only.
Any more discussion on the motion? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, through you, I just, in terms of the annual approval, that's the plan that was approved in 2023, requiring annual reviews and approval of the update. So by asking this board to vote on it, it just provides a resolution that then Mary Rose can then submit, okay, the board was updated, they've received the update on our 5-year hazard mitigation plan. This is the current status. So maybe as a matter of record, I think Alderman Smith, it's not asking to reapprove each of the projects which were originally incorporated, but it does create a record by which the city can then report to the agencies, to FEMA, in terms of what the transparent dialogue is in terms of the progress of those.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you. If that is then the case, then I would say the update that we have before us is severely lacking in detail and is very insufficient. Thank you.
Alderman Bevan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, could you explain with the document we're voting on tonight how that reduces insurance policies for the citizens of Milford that are on the shoreline?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. While this document is required under the hazard mitigation plan to be annually updated, it is also required under FEMA's community rating system plan, the CRS plan, to be submitted every February 1st to show that the aldermen have been informed about the annual update for the hazard mitigation plan. Keeping up with our CRS, currently Milford has a CRS discount of 5%. Every flood policy holder in the city of Milford gets a 5% discount. The memo you have has numbers for that on the second sheet. That number was accurate as of 12/9. It changes on a daily basis as people gather and let go of insurance policies.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the board and the mayor and the city attorney, thank you for clarifying what we are approving here, that we are not authorizing funding. I understand that. It's been made very clear to me. And I would also add that when I look at the agenda and the motion that we've been asked to approve, we've been asked to approve the annual progress report. That's what this is. It doesn't require additional funding. I don't see a scenario where anyone is going to be accused of having voted for funding because they approved the progress report. It's simply a progress report. And it's extremely detailed, and I'm satisfied, and I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
Alderman Casey.
Thank you. I think to the city attorney, I guess, through you, Alderman, Chairman. So I just want to get the lay of the land. So like this is like a statutory basis or through ordinance that we submit the annual tracking hazard mitigation plan? Like, what is, would survive from the statute or like an ordinance?
Mr. Chair, through you to Alderman Casey, this is not a statute, not an ordinance. This is a federal code of federal regulations. This is a FEMA requirement. Again, this plan serves a twofold purpose. You have the community rating system. Obviously, the better rank we have our community rating system, the better our residents get rates on their flood insurance program administered through FEMA. We submitted our hazard mitigation plan. We're going above and beyond the minimum thresholds. As part of that plan, we committed to providing annual reports. This is year 3 or year 2?
This is year 2 for the
Year 2 of the annual reports. So to be compliant with our own plan, where we committed, not only are we going to give you a 5-year plan, because in 2028, we'll be back here with a new 5-year hazard mitigation plan. We said, okay, we're going to do annual checks with the board. We're going to give you updates in May and June, and then come December, we're going to give you annual reports as to our progress. Obviously, like I think Alderman Smith mentioned, this is analogous to a capital improvement plan, which has its own purposes and requirements through state law in terms of budgeting. But what this plan enables us to do, and why I think the approval is so important, is it makes our ability to go out and obtain grants to hopefully fund some of these resiliency projects that much more attractive, because they're going to want to know, what's the record say? Okay, here's our 5-year plan, here's our annual reviews, the board's been apprised, and it shows that it's an ongoing process. So our attractiveness to the grants is benefited by exercises like this tonight. I hope that's correct, Mayor.
Yeah, so
that's how I understand it.
Yeah, so input is from federal, FEMA, like. Correct. Okay.
Yes.
And so you're talking through you to the mayor. Sorry, I have to forget your title, but you're telling me that if we don't vote, accept it, approve that, some flood people on the shoreline could get their rates increased by 5% if you don't approve this plan, I guess?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that's accurate. This plan, the approval of this plan needs to be submitted by February 1st with other documentation to keep our CRS rating current.
Okay. We are rating till like this, we're waiting till, I guess, the last minute, I guess, but I'm not saying criticize, but like, we have to be tending up this month, otherwise we can risk losing the 5% fee, I guess, or.
I would need an approval before February 1st, and you don't meet again before that time, so yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm hesitant to vote for this because of the TBDs that are on here. And again, I'm new to the board, so, forgive me, but there's no possible way for us to do a line by line on these measures, is there? Where we can vote on the ones that have already been allocated, and then we don't, we discuss the TBDs when we have better ideas on them.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the idea of the list is to show projects that we're considering. Funding sources are not always known simply because we need to do this project. We're not sure if federal funds will be available, if state funds will be available. Some of the projects that are TBD had been earmarked for federal programs that are no longer in existence as of today. So TBD had to be put on there because we had the project, it sat for a while. We didn't get into a grant program, and since those funds are no longer available, we need to find other funding sources.
And currently, it's being looked at and being determined what funds would be available for them?
Depending upon the department that, through you, Mr. Chairman, depending upon the department that is managing that project, they would be looking for funding sources. It's reviewed at the Hazard Mitigation Working Group to see if we can find other funding sources for such things.
Thank you.
Alderman Smith Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this might be a question better for you. I recall that this item was on our agenda last month, is that correct? And it was tabled, as I recall.
Correct.
What was the reason that it was tabled?
Not sure. We didn't have all the, Mary Rose, you could probably help me on this. This wasn't exactly, go
Through
ahead.
you, Mr. Chairman, this was on your agenda for October. And when I was preparing for the meeting that Monday, I looked at the spreadsheet and what I had sent out to Justin, Rosen, and Emma in July or August had a number of rows hidden because I had sent it to the wastewater department for them to fill in their things. And they sent it back. I looked at it, proofed it, put them in the right columns, and then I forgot to unhide the other cells. No one questioned that up to the Monday before the meeting, but I wanted to make sure you had all the information to vote on. So I asked Justin if we could pull it, or if he wanted it to go forward. He decided to pull it.
Thank you, Mary Rose.
And then the requirement here that you're talking about requires that a report be made to the board. Isn't it enough just to make your report to the board and that's sufficient for what you need to do?
We need to show that the board has looked at the report and acknowledged the report, not that just I've read it to them. I've been doing this, I think, since 2016, and every year there's been a motion by the board.
So if we had it that we read it and acknowledged it and voted no and voted it down, you could go back to your people and say, the board saw it, the board read it, and the board voted it down.
I'd submit that. That would go to the hazard mitigation plan that we have with the multi-jurisdictional plan with SCROG, and it would also be submitted to FEMA for CRS for our flood insurance.
Right, so you would have discharged your duty and the discount would still be available to all the Milford residents?
Not necessarily, because the idea of the discount is that you're continuing to seek resiliency.
But the requirement is that you've presented it to the board and the board has acknowledged it. The board acknowledges it by voting no, and that meets your requirement, right?
I would have to look into, I'm not sure. The board has voted yes every year since 2016. They haven't had a problem with it since then.
Just because we've always done it that way isn't necessarily a good reason to do it that way.
I agree with you. I understand that. But what I'm saying, through you, Mr. Chairman, is that the spirit of the hazard mitigation plan and this action tracker, which is part of that plan, is that the city is actively seeking to make the city more resilient and to protect its citizens, so that should we have a hurricane or a natural disaster, that we will have less impacts to our citizen and they will be safer.
So the requirement is that you present a report to the board, but not necessarily this report. We could make changes to this report, and if the changes were made and then we voted yes on it with the changes made, it would have met the requirement that you need.
This report has been prepared by the department heads that are responsible for each of these things. It's the board's decision. The city attorney can review that, what they can change.
All right. With that, I would like to make an amendment that from this report, every project that's marked to be determined would be eliminated, and that all the other projects would remain, and then we can all vote yes on this report.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, it pains me to remind Alderman Smith that TBDs, these are, if you will, using Alderwoman Federico's point, this is a status report. These are saying these are projects that are on our plan. We haven't determined, first of all, that they're going forward or the funding source. We're not asking for funding. So to take off TBDs to pretend that the project listed along them suddenly goes away or is no longer needed, it would be irresponsible. This is not a request for funding. TBD means this project is made the list. We will resolve funding if and when it comes to the Board of Aldermen for approval. There's no funding request, so the TBDs that seem to haunt you shouldn't, because we're not talking about funding. This is a status report saying these are the same items that were included last year and the year before. So it's a status report to say, here's where we are as of December of 2025 for your review. I compare it to being a project manager. We put things out there. We don't always have deadlines or delivery dates, but we put them out there as placeholders. This is a status report, not a request for funding. I just want to underscore that. Thank you.
We have discussion on the motion? That's where we are, right?
Motion on the floor. Amendment. We have a
It's on the amendment, right?
proposed amendment on the floor.
Discussions on the amendment.
So I'd like to ask the city attorney a question related to the amendment, if I may. Again, back to the old, I'd like to understand what I'm voting on. There's a plan that I heard was passed, and I think I heard you say 2023, that'll be coming back before us in 2028. So what we're looking at, just correct me if I'm wrong, I need to understand this so I can know how to vote on this amendment, so please just bear with me. If the plan that what we're voting on is this plan that we have in our package is the plan. There's just updates that have been made to it. So no one's asking us to change the plan, to remove something from the plan, to add something to the plan. In fact, is it even within our ability to do that? And if it's not, then I'd have to vote no to the amendment just on that fact alone, and then proceed with what we're otherwise supposed to be doing today.
Mr. Chair, through you, and I'll defer to Mary Rose if I say something incorrect. The plan was approved in 2023. What's before you, and I think Alderman Federico indicated, this is a progress report. It is not time, in 2023 and again in 2028, will be the time to debate what's on the plan, and there'll be justification for each of the projects listed. In terms of funding sources, we may come back in 2027 and one of the TBDs may have a grant. We may ask you for funding, not through the annual progress report, but through a different meeting. If the project that's been approved, that's on the plan, moves up in priority. This is a progress report. It is my belief it's not the opportunity or time to revisit the 2023 approval.
Okay, thank you. For that reason, I'll be voting against the amendment, but
I withdraw my second on the amendment.
And I withdraw the amendment.
I would like to make a new amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I would like to make an amendment to remove the TBD items from the progress report, making no changes to the accepted hazard mitigation plan that was previously accepted and agreed upon. So the amendment will be to remove from the progress report the TBD items that appear on attachment 8B, which are item 12 and item N46 through N58.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this, once again, I'm in agreement. This is a progress report. I've sat in on many meetings, Zoom meetings relative to shore and erosion matters and others. I certainly want to thank you, Mary Rose, for this plan that you've put together and have maintained, and for your dual role in terms of what you do for the city. And, you know, this is our ability to be able to look at informatively across all the districts within Milford, all the plans that deal with hazard mitigation. This is a tracking plan. So to say to eliminate something, as we said, this is a progress report. So the progress report, as we look at it, and if you take item number 11, which is on page 2, and we talk about the...
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment that amends the items 12 and N46 through N58. So if there's discussion on my amendment, I think that's what we're on. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I haven't, if we
Well,
can stick to the amendment that's before the board.
Yeah, eliminating any of those things would be disingenuous in terms of being informative to the collective body in terms of tracking all the hazard mitigation matters that the city is, currently dealing with, so I'm against it. Thank you.
Any more excuse me, any more discussion on the amendment? We have two aldermen, Alderman Brennan, and then Alderman Lombardi.
Thank you. So just so I'm clear, some of these TBDs, these projects were already on this progress report that was presented last year.
The TBDs below the purple line, the first 5 or 6 were on the project last year.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's more than that. The last 3 were added this summer.
Okay, perfect.
That includes an emergency generator for the IT system at Parsons, so that if there's a problem with the microgrid, the fire department doesn't lose power during a storm, which happened this year. There's the wastewater facility study to include inflow and infiltration at the wastewater treatment plant. And there's a implementation of that study. Those are the items that were added this year.
So since they've been on this tracker before, just because there is not progress, or perhaps it's backwards progress if we used to have funding and now we no longer do because the grants are no longer there, it still is the correct progress report on what we looked at last year. Is that accurate?
It is accurate to say this is the same project report you saw last year, except for those 3 yellow items on the bottom.
Great. Thank you.
Alderman Lombardi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. What are the ramifications or consequences of removing these from your progress report when it comes to your reporting?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, ramifications could be that when you're being looked at for granting, we apply for a grant, they wait granted. If it's in your hazard mitigation plan, you get extra points or more weight to your grant application. It may make the difference between getting the grant and not.
Thank you very much for explaining that. I will be voting down this amendment. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Smith III.
My apologies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, if we're going to speculate as to what might happen, if something else happens, I think if we look at N54 on this, which is included in my amendment, there is potential funding source of TBD, which means that $2 million, it is in the realm of possibilities that that $2 million could come from the city budget. Correct?
That's to be determined where that would come from. That if this project were to be identified by the Public Works Director that it was necessary to fix outfalls, he would bring to the Board of Aldermen a means and methods to get that project done.
Right, but it's in the realm of possibilities that that could come from the city budget.
I don't know how he would fund it. I can't answer that.
It sounds like the answer is yes. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Mayor.
I just want to be sure that we want to take all these projects for resiliency, for Wildermere Beach, and other vital projects that right now have TBDs. We've already been clear that we're not asking for funding at this point. Somehow a TBD, to your point, funding will be resolved and it will come to this board. If it's going to come from the city, it could come from a grant. We don't know where the funding's coming from, but we want to list the fact that this is an important project. So it's on this plan. I don't know why we keep going to TBDs, that we want to remove them. If we want to list all the projects that would come off, because we don't have certainty as to what grant or whether sometime in the future we're going to come to the city, at which point you would have a say over the funding. So if we want to remove TBDs, let's itemize them out and make sure that the public's clear on the projects that we're deciding, because we're not ready to fund it, to take off our plan. This, again, for the third time, is not a funding request. TBDs are saying we don't know how it's going to be funded, and it won't be funded with city dollars without coming before this board, period.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the mayor just indicated, one of the items, TBD N46, Walnut Beach, Wildermere Beach, that deals with shoreline resilience, and we just had a meeting with DEEP on that, which is reflected here. But in greater detail, there is funding that's available. This project started, it's been on this list through successive years, through 2019, that the Director of Public Works has brought forward. And then during different times, based on funding availability, it had languished. And then our constituents from those districts, Walnut Beach and Wildermere Beach, have come before this board month after month to ask for updated information. So the tracking is imperative relative to that. It's transparent, it's informative, and we recently just had a meeting, and we're in the process through Steve Johnson, so the Public Works Department, who's still there, working to get funding to update the engineering documents. There are funding that is available through them to update our engineering on this particular matter. Then it would be coming back to the Board of Aldermen, and we'd be seeking additional funding down the road if there's federal grants that are available. So to remove a TDD, this is just one example, I think is not the thing to do. We're looking for transparency, we're looking to be informative. A number of us that are on this board work together on these specific projects, and they're painstakingly difficult, obviously, and we're trying to make incremental progress, you know, to go forward, report back to our constituents, deal with our department heads, and then we would come before the board, and ultimately our chief executive would make a decision, the mayor's office would make a decision on this. So I would say we should leave the list as intact because it's informative, it's transparent, and it's proper. Thank you.
Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you to Alderman Healy. For N46, you mentioned that there is funding sources for that. What are those funding sources?
It's to, as I mentioned, for the updated engineering on this particular project through the state of Connecticut. There is funding that's available. There's an application that the Department of Public Works is doing through Steve Johnson to update that. So we can update the plans. We had an informative meeting with federal, state, and municipal officials in Hartford, as it's indicated, you know, on the plan. A lot of time went into that, resources, and we're trying to move this project incrementally forward. And what would be the net benefit? The net benefit would be included in this master plan is all the outflows, the comprehensive outflows that deal with drainage in the Wildermere Walnut Beach, you know, project, along with a shoreline resiliency structure that's going to improve. The tide that comes in there currently, see, this is where we're going. You know, you're asking for something. It's a very detailed process. So having it on the list is something that's important. It's important to us to maintain continuity and tracking. It's also important to our constituents that are out there, and the people, the president of the Walnut Beach Association, Simon McDonald, the president of the Wildermere Beach Association, Felicia Shashenka, they sit in on shore and erosion meetings and Zooms, and they've been asking for our assistance. I've done community outreach meetings, in the past to help move this project, forward, but, and attended. So that's just, an example of maintaining a list, and hopefully we get to a point where collectively we need to make an informed decision and talk about the other funding, sources and how much we're going to get from the federal government, how much from the state, and what might be available, through in our participation in our own budgetary process. So that's just part of it, as one example.
Alderman Smith.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I appreciate that information, Alderman Healy. It sounds like maybe you should have updated this with a potential funding source, because this does not reflect what you just articulated. This leads me to believe that there is no funding source, or the funding source that you just articulated dried up, is not available,
It's in work in progress now.
can't be used for it. And so the problem here that I have is when I look at these items, when I look at estimated costs, $12 to $15 million for one project, for a potential funding source that we have at this moment, based on this progress report, we have absolutely no idea where it's coming from. No idea. Now, you've just articulated some good potential funding sources. They don't appear here. So maybe you should work with the department head that put this TBD that was reflected here. My concern is responsible budgeting. It is not responsible to put something in, a $12 to $15 million project, where we don't know where it's coming from, and we are at risk of having the city to front that money through the city budget. Are there grants? Sure. Again, we're doing a lot of speculation here, and if we're going to do that, I think we should speculate on both ends of the spectrum. So I'm not going to support something where the city could shoulder the burden of the cost of these projects. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion, on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the board, I just want to say I'm not in favor of this amendment, and here's why. First of all, I understand that this is a progress report. And in a progress report, I prefer to have complete information rather than incomplete information. So that I don't see any benefit in removing items from this report. I'd rather know about all the items that are, as they say, in the hopper or pending. Second, I understand, as has been explained many, many times tonight, that the items on here that are TBDs are not funding requests. I don't know how many other ways the administration can say it. It's true, they are not funding requests. And third, I understand how the city budget works. And if any of these projects are funded out of the budget, then it's a budget we've already approved. If they're funded out of the capital improvement plan, then they would be coming out of a capital improvement plan that we approved. We approve all of those things as a board. So it's not like the mayor can go say, oh, I'm gonna spend $2 million on this and increase the budget. They can't increase a line item without us approving it. So I am not concerned about the funding. I think I understand it's a progress report. I would rather have complete information in the progress report than incomplete, and I will be voting against the amendment. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Smith, Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what we've seen here tonight is that this progress report can be added to, new things can be put on it. What it sounds like is that, but nothing can ever come off it. We're being told simultaneously that this is really a big nothing burger. It's just a report. That's all it is. And yet, if you try to change it in any way, it sounds like it's the end of the world. It's $89 million. And I've seen this before in so many things that we do, whether it's this report, which means nothing, this $89 million report that means nothing, or the capital improvement plan where it's even more than that. And then things come before us and, oh, you've voted for it several times, so you ought to vote for it yet again. And it is part of dealing with, sometimes I'm amazed on this board, it's not real money. If it was your $89 million, you'd want to know. You wouldn't be voting on, maybe someday we'll get around to finding out more about it. You'd want to know. I suggest we conduct as we would our own finances, the finances of the city. We ought to know. And if we don't know, we ought not vote. And if it's too much, then we ought not vote for it as well. So I think we ought not vote on this. I think we ought to vote on this amendment, strip these things out, and then vote on the underlying bill, because some of these other projects are already in place and we know where the funding is and we voted for them, as Alderman Federico was saying, but these other things that we haven't. So I think we ought to vote on this amendment and then vote on the then amended underlying bill. If there's a couple of projects that come out, as we've already discovered here tonight, we can add them back in next year if they come back with more detail. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask one question, because I'm not sure if the point is not clear or some of the opposition comments are intentionally avoiding the point. This is not a funding request. $89 million is not being requested. So I don't know, are we throwing that out to get sound bites from our videotape? This is a status report on projects that were deemed important by the department heads. Resiliency is a great example. TBD means we're hoping to get grants, but I assure you of this, and this should settle the discussion. No funding will be applied to these projects without this board's approval. We're not asking for it tonight, but should one of these projects be brought forward, this board, whether we're accepting a grant, we're paying for it through city funds, will come to you, and at that point, you can say no. This is not a request for funding, yet we keep coming back to that as if we didn't clear that up. So help me understand what the confusion is, please.
Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you, I do take great exception to asking tough questions on responsible budgeting as being identified as soundbite. It is not a soundbite. These are tough questions regarding millions of dollars. I understand it's not an obligation to obligate the city to these funds, but to call serious questions regarding incredibly detailed hazard mitigation plans that have severe impacts, that have a lot of the citizens of Milford in mind. These are not sound bites. These are questions that need answering. And to be determined is not an answer. Am I going to vote for a $15 million project that is to be determined, where it could come from city funds? No, that is not a sound bite. That is responsible questioning on tough questions on responsible budgeting. That is all.
I appreciate that, Alderman Smith, and the question was asked and answered that we're not talking about spending money. We keep saying it over and over again. I appreciate tough questions.
Mr. Mayor, you haven't been recognized.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Smith, Jr.
Yes, you know, it's a little tricky to listen to people denigrate other folks who have been elected to a position and have material questions on something. We fully realize that this is not a funding request, but we're being asked to vote on it. And if you don't like that, too bad. Don't try to denigrate us or talk down to us or talk like we're stupid or we don't understand city budgeting, et cetera, some of the other things I've heard here tonight. Some of us do understand city budgeting. We got problems with this. We're trying to discuss it, and we're being belittled. Is that where we want to go with this? I should hope not. I'm voting no. I've articulated the reasons why I'm voting no. I fully understand what you're trying to do. I understand it is not a funding request. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the question on this amendment.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment? Yes, Alderman Bannon.
I just want to focus back on the vote that we're taking tonight. How I understand this vote is that a vote for this amendment is satisfying, or I'm sorry, not for the amendment, but for this actual progress report, is satisfying our duty that we said we were going to do as a board back in 2023. It allows for our residents to receive a discount in their homeowner flood insurance. And it also allows for our department leads to use this progress tracker to apply for grants with a little bit of a leg up on people that maybe do not have progress reports or CRS. Are those accurate statements, at least the second and third? Actually, all three.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes.
Thank you.
With no more questions, we're going to vote for the amendment. Then we're voting on the amendment. All in favor?
I think it's a fair question. He asked if we could have the amendment read out loud. It's been such time.
Want to read the amendment again?
Are you able to
Oh, yeah.
give us the amendment?
Absolutely. Let's hear the amendment read again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you. So the amendment would then read, Board of Aldermen approval is requested for the attached City of Milford Community Rating System annual progress report on implementation of credited plan, and to authorize the mayor, open space manager, floodplain administrator, and inland wetlands agent to take all steps necessary, including signing all documents to effectuate said program. On the attached item 8B, it is to accept the progress report with the redaction of item 12 and items N46 through N58.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed?
No.
Roll call vote, Madam Secretary, please.
Alderman Ali,
Aye.
Alderman Bannon,
No.
Alderman Bevan,
No.
Alderman Brennan,
No.
Alderman Casey,
No.
Alderman Federico,
No.
Alderman Fowler,
Yes.
Alderman Healy,
No.
Alderman Height,
No.
Alderman Lombardi,
No.
Alderman Pacelli,
No.
Alderman Michael Smith,
No.
Alderman Winthrop Smith Jr.,
Yes.
Alderman Winthrop Smith III,
Yes.
Alderman Vitro. 11 no, and 4 yes.
11 no and 4 yes, the amendment fails. Any more discussion on the original motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like a 5-minute recess.
A 5-minute recess.
He's staying far enough away.
We're back in session, and we're on any more discussion on the original motion? Any more discussion on the original motion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Roll call vote, Madam Secretary, please.
Alderman Ali,
No.
Alderman Bannon,
Yes.
Alderman Bevan,
Yes?
Alderman Brennan,
Yes.
Alderman Casey,
Yes.
Alderman Federico,
Yes.
Alderman Fowler,
No.
Alderman Healy, Alderman Height,
Yes.
Alderman Lombardi,
Yes.
Alderman Pacelli, Alderman Michael Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Winthrop Smith Jr.,
No.
Alderman Winthrop Smith III,
No.
Alderman Vitro. 11 yes, 4 no.
11 yes, 4 no, the motion fails. I'm sorry, the motion passes.
I agree.
I'm still dazed from the other motion.
Mary Rose, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary Rose, for answering all our questions.
Thank you.
Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item 8D, Board of Aldermen approval is requested for the attached resolution regarding the 250th anniversary celebration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
We have a motion and a second. Is any discussion on the motion? Alderman Smith Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of what I just deemed to be cleanup motions. I put a copy on each of your desks, and I gave one over to the Madam Clerk and such. I ran it by the City Attorney. They're really just, I think, grammatical and clear things up, and I would offer the both of them, I guess, simultaneously, so we don't have to do 2 votes as friendly amendments.
Second?
The motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Back on the original motion. Any more discussion? As amended. Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a couple of questions on some of the language in here. And I may have talked to some to the City Attorney on this, so we might be the right one to give the answer to it. If that's all right. The first one is in paragraph numbered 3. It talks about permits being issued. And who is it that would issue those permits?
Mr. Chair, through you to Alderman Smith, the permits will be issued through the police chief, through the itinerant vendor as set forth in our Code of Ordinances under licenses, permits under Section 17-10 at CEQA.
And so then would the request then come to the committee, and then it would go, the committee would pass it on to the police chief?
Yes, if a vendor wanted to sell 250th anniversary materials, that I'm sure that the committee would probably take that request and then refer that request in the application. I think the committee may run off some copies of the application. They could be submitted to the police department for approval.
Mr. Chairman, the last question I have here is in the paragraph 4, it talks about items which meet the criteria of the celebration of the 250th anniversary. Just its placement there in that paragraph seems to indicate that that criteria would be developed by the committee. It doesn't really say who's going to develop that criteria.
Mr. Chair, through you to Alderman Smith, yes, that's correct, that the committee would ultimately determine the criteria which meets the purpose and the spirit of the organization
Thank you.
resolution.
Obviously, I took some interest in this one. I think this is a great idea, and I think it's a commendable thing. So with our discussion there and the amendments, I plan on voting yes for a change.
And Alderman Smith, I think your family was here 250 years ago, so it's appropriate you serve on that committee.
Alderman Casey.
Thank you. So I know, I think either the mayor or the city clerks, and you can provide us some background, I guess, and my just a question is before that is like, is there going to be a logo or some representation about, the city, like some, putting forth like some suggestion about a logo or something like that, like to like present this idea or some official logo, I guess?
We have our Economic Development Director here, Robert Towns, who's going to chair this, and maybe he could share his ideas with us.
So very similar to what we did back in 2014 with the 375th celebration here in Milford, we will be asking the committee about a logo and about other items to go along with this celebration. So yes, we will be asking for a logo and then working with someone that we deem, appropriate, some graphic designer to create something to put Milford stamp on it. In doing research with other communities in Connecticut, other municipalities, most of them have created their own logo for the celebration for their municipality.
Thank you. It's exciting, so I appreciate your work with this.
Alderman Smith, the third.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you. Sounds like the logo is TBD. Just a joke. I do look forward to seeing who's on the committee, and I look forward to the events that are planned, and I think it's a great idea. I'm not sure whose idea it was, but whoever's idea it was to form this committee, I would commend them. Thank you.
So there is a national commission, put forth by Congress, and then the state back in 2019 created the America 250 Connecticut Celebration Commission. And so here in Milford right now, we are looking forward to this. And one of the things we also want to do is to have aldermanic support and presence within the committee.
Any more discussion on the amendment? We're going to vote on the amendment?
We already voted.
Okay.
Underlying as amended.
So we're going to vote on the original motion?
Motion as amended.
As amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 9.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. New business not on the agenda, there is none. Moving on to budget memo transfers, there is none. Moving on to refunds, there is none. Are there any other reports from any of the standing committees? I see none. Are there any reports from any of the special committees? I also see none. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
To discuss item 14A. Joining us in executive session is the Mayor, Richard Smith, Chief of Staff, Holly Morenin, City Attorney John Bertram, Assistant City Attorney Deborah Kelly, Human Resource Director Tanya Barnes. Is there a motion? All in favor? Opposed? We're in executive session. We're back in session. Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item 14A, consideration of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Milford and Milford Police Dispatchers Union, Council 4, Local 1303-454, July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029.
Motion is made and seconded, and is any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I have a motion to adjourn. Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Hey, Win.